Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Bufnagle the podcast, where we explore entertaining and enlightening discussions of the adventure of life and all things good. From science and technology to history and philosophy to leadership and success. We hope to give you a better understanding of the world and skills for everyone to pursue their own adventure.
Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Bufnagle the podcast, where we talk about all things good in the pursuit of the adventure of life. I am Rafe, and I am your solo host today. Not your solo co-host. I'm just your solo host today. Harry is on his extended hiatus, but he will be back with us shortly. We anticipate. So, before we get started, I would like to thank all you guys for being here. You know that. We think the world of you, and we are very appreciative for all our listeners that have made us a global top 10% podcast. Remember, you can reach us at bufnagle@bufnagle.com. Remember to share the love, share the buff, give us a 5-star review, hit like, smiley stars, whatever those things are that make my life better by making your life better. Those would be things that we would love you to do. And remember to tell a friend to listen, and they will get a free episode, and you will get one too. So that'll be a very good thing. You can support us, as we've said in the past, since we are an independent group. You can support us by going to the show notes and click on that little, what's it called? The buy me a coffee link. And it doesn't actually buy me coffee. It might buy me a Mountain Dew, but it probably would help us like with a microphone or paying the storage. These episodes have to get started on the interweb, and that's not done gratis by these internet companies. So anything you could do to help us out would be great. We appreciate you, but there's no obligation. So do what you feel is the thing you wish to do. Last time when we were here on the Buff, I think we were discussing the end of my time in Bar and my summer travels, my summer school educational experience. And I had made my way from Bar in Alsace, France, up through Cologne in Germany, a little visit to the cathedral there, and onto the city of Bruges, Bruges. In Flemish, it's Brugge. I don't have any idea why these things confuse me, but Bruges is a city in West Flanders in Belgium, about 15 miles from the North Sea. It's about an hour train ride from Brussels. So from Cologne to Bruges was only a couple hours on the train. We got to go through Brussels, which is always exciting. We'll talk about Brussels later, but let's just say it was, you know what? Brussels was Brussels. These cities are what they are, and we're not going to roll anything back, but we can look toward the future to see what they may be. Bruges is an old city. It is it grew up in the Middle Ages, I guess I would say. And there are canals all over. It's very low land there. It's not far from the sea. The elevation is 2 or 3 meters, most of it there. So a massive, what do you call it? A massive storm that raises the level, like a big hurricane or a nor'wester could come in and produce some what do they call it? Coastal flooding that could come all the way down to Bruges. But there are canals there for directing ships around through the rivers all the way to the sea. And the center of town is inside kind of almost like a moat of these canals. And there are large, what do you call them? Gates for some of the big bridges that went over those canals. And they kind of mark the entrance to that central city area. There are drawbridges that get raised and then back lowered when large boats want to make their way through, and then they go, like I said, they go back down to let the traffic in and out. But the whole inside area has essentially no traffic control. There's very few cars. There are streets, and people do drive around. You can take a cab right from the center of the city square area to the train station and the outskirts, and go wherever you want to go. But there's little vehicular traffic, lots of pedestrian traffic, lots of bicycle traffic. Like I said, it's very flat, so it's easy to get around. But there are a lot of canals, so there's very picturesque bridges. If you go for a walk, you're bound to see lovelorn couples taking their photographs over the bridges, watching the swans go by. It's very picturesque, and it's a very lovely city, very nice place to be. The city did very well early on, up until the 1500s, 1600s, something like that, and then fell on some hard times. So what happened is they stopped growing and stopped changing, which is very beneficial for us now because we get to see how things were way back in the day. And it is doing well now as a major tourist stop. People love Bruges. It is a lot of fun. Bruges is the childhood home of one Dr. Evil from the Austin Powers movies. If you care to follow those things, that's kind of a neat little thing I found on the interwebs. We stayed in Bruges at a convent boarding school, I guess you could say. So there's a little convent there run by some there were 3 nuns there at the time, and they have a boarding school for it's like a primary school. It's a basic school is what it's called. So it is young students, but there, like I said, there's a boarding school. So there's there were dormitories, and the first floor was kind of administration stuff. The second floor was classroom kinds of things. The third floor was where the boys stayed, and the fourth floor is where the girls stayed. Like I said, the nuns ran the show, so kind of the other wing of this thing was where the nuns lived. We met the leader of the group, Sister Beatrice, wonderful, jolly old lady, 86 years young. She had been born in Bruges way back in the day and had lived there her whole life, except for when she went to the Congo and other exciting places when she was a nun. So it was always a joy to see her, always a smile on her face. And she carried with her a lot of joy. She showed me around the city one day, helped me find daily mass at the cathedral, and was generally just a peach. She was great. I loved Sister Beatrice. There were about 30 students there at the Bruges school. I was, again, the oldest. I would love to say the wisest one, but maybe that's not true. Most of the students were in the range from, I'll say, 18 to 25. So it was a little bit younger group, I think, than was in Bar. One girl was as young as 16, a high school student, and one lady was in her mid 50s, just behind me. But it was more, like I said, more traditionally college age students, and there were more non-architects. It wasn't just me and the filmmaker. This was now me and the filmmaker and a lot of other people: a fashion designer lady, a professional stone carver, and an interior restorer, landscape architects, like all sorts of people. Like I said, the high school student, there was a high school teacher, lots of different people. But in addition to that, lots of architecture students, lots of professional architects, and certainly to a person, they were all excellent, superb, highly talented drawers, and not just draftsmen. I mean, these guys could draw, and it was they were all world. And it might be that that's how it is in all of the architecture world, but man, these guys were good. It was just a joy to watch. It would have been a joy just to spend 5 weeks watching these people draw. It was wonderful. The early parts of our, we were there for 5 weeks, right? So we didn't have to cram as much stuff in as we did the 16 days in Bar. Most days early on were lectures and classes, lots of discussion. It was interesting to me that there was lots of discussion on philosophy and metaphysics, and how they might lead one to design what people design, certainly around Bruges, a lot of Gothic kinds of things. The term Gothic, maybe you guys know this. I don't know if I knew this or learned this, but it was reinforced to me there. The word Gothic is a pejorative that was used during the Enlightenment. That word's in finger quotes there. During the Enlightenment, to describe the barbaric architecture works from the earlier time periods. That's everybody is always doing propaganda, right? And you try to present yourself in the best light. So if you are an Enlightenment person, you will try to make things before you look unenlightened, which might be dark. So this whole idea, I guess, as a side note, this whole idea of the Enlightenment and the Dark Ages might be the world's most successful PR campaign ever, and it's all a scam. People have been doing things. Technology has progressed. Science has progressed. The nature of man has stayed the same. And that's kind of a recurring theme here on the Buff. How do we deal with with who we are in whatever time frame we may find ourselves. So we did there was a lot of discussion, like I said, about metaphysics and philosophy, which was always fun. And it was just wonderful to see all the different, the variety of the experiences people had, of the things they've thought about, of the things that they've read, the things they've not read, and to share those experiences with people from around the globe and across all sorts of ages. I thought that was one of the high points of Bruges, was the discussions regarding the philosophies and metaphysics, and Patrick Webb was just phenomenal in leading a lot of those. Noé Morin was off the charts. These guys spent a lot of time studying and reading this stuff, and it was a great experience. So that was the early on was a lot of these lectures and philosophical discussions. We spent some time learning technical drawing skills, like how to do geometric constructions, how to draw an equilateral triangle with just a compass and a straight edge, how to draw perpendicular lines, how to make different concentric circles, or how to draw arches and all those kinds of things, how to draw a pentagon with a compass and a straight edge. It's a very complicated proof that goes back to Euclid. And so that was I found that very, very comforting, very calm, certainly compared to the flurry of activity at the end of the bar class and my trip across Germany to get to Bruges. So the solar place was well appreciated, and it was quite pleasant. Our like I said, we were in the boarding school. The food was provided. There was Patrick's wife provided us 3 meals a day. It was phenomenal, the amount of work that she put into that, in accommodations that were difficult at best. There were a lot of little shops in Bruges, a lot of places to get ice cream, a lot of places to get waffles. People love waffles in Belgium, and fries. They love French fries, which was interesting to me. There were places that just specialized in fries, which is, you know what? You want fries? Go eat fries. I thought that was great. People did fries and waffles and ice cream, and everybody had a great time. We did a lot of walking because it's a very, very walkable city. There was a big city square where all sorts of interesting things happened. You could go there and get a horse-drawn carriage to drag you around the city. There were concerts there on the weekends. There were oftentimes during the day, there were, I guess I'll call them street performers. There's a word for that someone taught me that I have forgotten. There's a word for the street performing, and they would be out there with maybe a piano on wheels and one guy on a piano and one guy with a guitar and somebody singing, and they would, have a hat and you drop in some coins and maintain the ambience. We did some measured drawings. I did some door details at a church at St. Jacob's Church there in Bruges. I was very glad at that point that I had spent the 2 weeks in Bar doing some of that stuff, because I learned, had I been in Bruges trying to get up to speed based upon the 2 weeks I had spent in Bar, it was difficult for me to survive to the end of either of those courses, but the fact that they were back to back was wonderful for the highly amateurish drawer guy that I am. But I survived that, and that was, like I said, it was good to have those other drawing classes under my belt. We visited what's called the English Convent there in Bruges, a wonderful, peaceful place that's been there for 400 years, and we did some drawings, measured drawings of places in the convent, windows and floor plans and doorways and other architectural things. And it was a wonderful building, a wonderful site. And to me, the most moving place was the memorial garden, because these people, there's been nuns there for 400 years, and there are a lot of them that have passed. And it's a beautiful place to find wonderful names for your daughters. There were plenty of Marias and Elizabeths and Agneses, but it was going through the list of names and looking at the placards that had the names and the dates of the nuns that had passed was one of those memento mori moments. And it goes way back into the, I want to say it's the 1500s, but I can't guarantee that. It was a long time. They've been there a long time. A lot of names on that list. A lot of old dates. And you think that those people lived their lives doing the things they did, similar to the things we're doing now, but just in a different technical environment. Technology marches on, and the nature of man stays the same. And it is always good to have left behind something good. So my hat is off to the people who have kept the English convent running there in Bruges. And like I said, we met a number of the sisters there too. It was great stuff. We toured the Béguinage in Bruges. I think I'm saying that right. It's like the website. The Bruges website has a little page on the Béguinage, and it says the princely Béguinage 10 Wingegaard. I don't know why, I'm probably saying that last word wrong. With its white-colored house fronts and tranquil convent garden, was founded in 1245. This little piece of world heritage was once the home of the Beguines probably, emancipated lay women who nevertheless led a pious and celibate life. For centuries, the Bruges Béguinage has been inhabited continuously. Today, some nuns from the Order of St. Benedict and the Order of Vincent de Paul live there, as well as single women from Bruges. So the Béguinage was I guess I look at it as a safe haven for single women. And what a wonderful thing to do as a community, whoever put this together. The idea was like, we'll take care of you and we'll make sure you're taken care of. And that's a thing an ordered society does, is takes care of those people who are on the edge, or people who are at risk, or people who have trouble taking care of. I don't want to say taking care of themselves. It's not quite right, but people who can be easily victimized. And young single women back in the Middle Ages, that was a thing that could. I have to assume it was easy to fall through the cracks if you didn't get placed in the right place. There was not a lot of, women didn't have a lot of political power, and a thing like the Béguinage allowed them to live fully. And it was a wonderful place that inside this walled, it wasn't what was it? It was just a community there. And it was a safe haven, trees and gardens and little homes and a chapel and the things they needed. And people ran businesses from there, and they lived their lives. They ate and they slept and they did their businesses. And it was a wonderfully peaceful and serene place. It was like an emotional, cool breeze on a stressful, hot day. And it turns out that when we did our final projects at the end of the session, we were there at the Béguinage. We did some joint projects with some other students. I did a joint project with a girl from Connecticut and a girl from Australia, and that was good fun. They were great. Like I said, they're all great drawers, but they were better people too. And so these ladies dragged me through these projects, which was wonderful. They were all universe, and I was just all Rafe. So it took me a while to catch up, but they did great helping me along. Lots more architecture lectures. It was amazing how many lectures there were on architecture, and we had some on archaeology from some guest faculty that came in. In the end, I guess it always comes back to these questions of morality and metaphysics, two topics that seem to be verboten in schools these days. We visited a castle, which was great fun. It was good to get out of the city. The highlight there might have been a shrubbery maze that was off in a back garden of the castle area. So that was fun. All of us tried to find our way through the maze, like in the movie The Shining, but there wasn't a creepy guy chasing us, so that was good. At one point, one of the students confided in me that it felt like we're spending a lot of time in the classroom and we need to get out more. We came to Europe for the summer. We got to go do Europe things. And so after that, I certainly I think he was right. We made a more concerted effort to get out and see things. We went to the city of Ghent and spent a Sunday afternoon just wandering around there on a no stress Sunday. I went out with the groups more often to get dinners or beers or ice cream. Ice cream was also my favorite there. And took time to get more involved in other things that were in the area. There were students took to doing lots of things to get out and go places, taking the train to Brussels or to Ghent or up to the ocean. You could rent bikes and go along on these trails. The group was, like I said, it was larger than the group in Bar. So little groups kind of started forming, which was at one hand, it was a little sad to see because it got split. But on the other hand, you can't do things with a group of 30 some people. It just gets too big. So obviously little groups formed, but like it was in Bar, the nature of these students was outrageously, highly, outgoingly friendly on its best level, and its worst level, it was joyfully amicable. So there was never, like I said, I went 8 weeks. I never heard a bicker. I never heard hostile words. I never heard crankiness. I did hear some general chagrin at the state of the showers, but that was not a problem. There were no squabbles, there were no fights, there were no snide remarks. There was a lot of enchantment and delight, which are two things that bring me great joy. And I think about this male-female enchantment and delight thing, and I was talking to somebody about that when it gets properly channeled, this enchantment and delight leads to a couple, and the couple taken to its fulfillment leads to, well, quite frankly, it leads to new people. And I was struck by this idea that came into my head that I started calling something like the infinitude of the variety of the good. So like light and heat, there seems to be that there is good, and there is there's only good in the absence of good. It's not really good and bad. There's good and absence of good, and good breeds more good, and as it breeds it gets more infinitely variable. It's not like light seems to be kind of light seems to be kind of confined to a spectrum, but good seems to be able to grow like in multiple dimensional directions at the same time. So look at all the beautiful things you see out there, from like buildings and flowers and sunsets and cinnamon rolls and kites and airplanes and all those things. And look at how widely varied they are. All those things are different forms of the good, and they are highly variable, and they're infinitely variable. There's so much, we talk about this on the Buff a lot. There's the variety of the lives of the saints compared to the boring monotony of tyrants. There's just so much more variety in good. But you take all those things that I just listed and you destroy them by however you destroy them. You burn them, or you discredit them, or you smash them. And all you get is just crumbles of gray dust and stone and ash and despair and decay. And they all look the same. When you take out the good, it just devolves into nothing. The good produces this infinite variety, and that seems to be almost modeled, like I said, by all the different people you see. Every time I meet new people, and I guess I always expect them to be like things I've already seen. But every time I meet new people, it's like it's a new thing. The good is always newer and produces this infinite variety. And the opposite of the good isn't that there are lots of different kinds of bad. It's just, like I said, it's just nothing. It's a little blip of emptiness, no joy, no enchantment, no delight, no anything. It's just gray, dull, apathetic dust. And like I said, I came to see all these people that I met and got to grow and got to see and see them grow and flourish and shine their own good all around. And I imagine, I think I got a glimpse of seeing these people as God sees them. all fully different, but yet spectacularly unique manifestations of Imago Dei, as all different and exotic and varied, and yet immensely beautiful individuals, all in their own way, all the little facets of them that they shine and they sparkle. And when you see them like, I would see these people in the classroom, and then I would see them out on a walk by the moat, and I would see them at the pub having a drink, and I would see them exercising in the courtyard, and I would see all these little facets of them, and we would talk, and they would share their stories of their life experiences, and I would see all of these different things, and these different lights would shine on them in different ways and produce these different sparkles. Their talents would show in different ways, and their experiences and their personalities. And I came to see all these people I had met this summer, and then all the people that I know, I started seeing in this way as like infinitely precious human Fabergé eggs. And they're immensely diverse, but so incredibly beautiful, all shining and sparkling and glimmering in their own way. But they're all reflecting this infinitude of the variety of the good. And I went, before this episode, I went and I looked up the Fabergé egg thing on the interweb and looked at, I had in my head that they were all basically just eggs, but they're eggs, and some of them open up and have watches inside. Some of them open up, there's a little model ship in there. And like, I was amazed at how infinitely varied just the Fabergé eggs are. And it came to reinforce with me this model of all these wonderful people that I met being these little tiny Fabergé eggs. And part of the tremendous sorrow I felt leaving these classes that I left was I had to leave all these little eggs behind. Somebody took them from me. But I came to realize that all of these people have these paths that they're on. All these eggs are on these little paths to fulfill their good. Their joy will come from staying on the path that brings them to the good. And these aren't my eggs. These belong to all of you out there. And all you have to do is look and see them in that infinite, or that infinitude of the variety of the good. There's so much variety out there, and there's so many ways to see the good. And I guess I encourage you to try to see that in the people that are around you, in the people that you meet. And when you look in the mirror, I want you to recognize that you are one of them too. And you will shine brightest when you fulfill the manifestation of Imago Dei that you were made to be. So I'm going to leave you at that. And I will encourage you to seek the good, live virtuously, and flourish, and enjoy the adventure of life.
It's going to be a great day.